Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the De-Stress Society podcast. I'm your host, Josie Myers, and I'm so happy that you are here today. Today, we're going to be delving into a topic that's essential for personal growth and well-being, setting boundaries for yourself. Now, this one is a juicy one. I know that boundaries are talked about all over the place, especially on YouTube. So I wanted to cover this really important topic. So boundaries are like fences around our emotional and mental landscapes. They define what's acceptable, what's not, and ultimately they safeguard our peace of mind. Yet, setting boundaries can be a tricky art to master. Before we dive in and explore how to establish and maintain healthy boundaries for ourselves, let's pause for an energy minute. If this is the first time you're tuning in, I'm a certified Reiki master, author of a self-help book called Freeing the Butterfly, and one of the things I do is bring calm by opening and balancing our life force energy. Now, there are a few energy centers that help us through the process of setting boundaries for ourselves. The solar plexus chakra aligns the ability to set healthy boundaries. A solid root chakra to know you are safe enough to set a boundary. And the throat chakra is also important to be able to speak our truth when setting boundaries. First off, let's talk about what exactly is a boundary. Many people make the mistake of thinking setting boundaries as focusing on what the other person does, but really it's about the boundaries we have for ourselves. Think of them as guidelines we set for how we want to be treated, what we're willing to tolerate, and what's off limit. Boundaries can exist in various aspects of our lives, from relationships with friends and family to our professional environments, and even within ourselves. Setting boundaries starts with self-awareness. It is about recognizing our needs, values, and limits. Now, it's important to note that boundaries aren't set in stone. They're a dynamic and may need to be adjusted over time. As you grow and evolve, your boundaries may shift to reflect your changing needs and priorities. So don't be afraid to reassess and modify your boundaries as necessary. So if you are in the really early stages of a journey through change, it is really important to know that your boundaries will probably not be as crucial to make at this moment, but maybe down the line. I know in my own journey of getting deep and finding out who I really am, my boundaries have changed in so many capacities. Now, I realize that making or setting boundaries is the toughest part. I myself have had some trouble navigating boundaries at points. My people-pleasing attitude from past years does rear its ugly head at times, and it takes a lot of strength to remind myself that it didn't serve me to be the easygoing, spineless person I once was. So I want to introduce you to a doctor that I follow on YouTube. You've probably seen her if you have done any sort of research into narcissistic abuse or narcissists. Her name is Dr. Ramani. I'll link her channel in the comments section. But I stumbled upon one of her segments about setting boundaries, and I thought that this would be some thing to share with you. Some things that I took away that I thought were really interesting and sort of resonated with me, and I think will probably resonate with you. If not, then that's wonderful. But I would like to think that there are a lot of us that are out here that are really, really struggling with boundaries and that maybe have had narcissistic personalities from others or a narcissistic person. So in the segment about setting boundaries, she talks about letting people step over our boundaries over and over again because we have not felt empowered to speak up for ourselves. and maybe at points haven't been given the tools to be able to do so. Does this sound familiar to you? Go back into your childhood and recognize times where you were meant to feel like you didn't have a voice or a choice, and even if you tried, you were shut down. Take a moment to think about people in your life that don't respect you or devalue you at every turn and expect you to paste a smile on your face and accept things that constantly make you feel uncomfortable. The hard work here is mustering up the courage to speak up and tell them how you feel and that you won't accept that from them anymore. The thing that piqued my interest in the segment is the idea of a codependent family system. These family systems are governed by fear and anger and devaluation of family members so that boundaries are never set, eliminating the process of setting boundaries altogether. If this sounds familiar to you, this might be the reason why your boundary setting may be non-existent or even weak. You may be asking yourself, do I even need to set a boundary? Why is it so important for me to get what I want in this situation? That seems kind of selfish. If you're working from this starting point, take a moment to reflect. What situations make you uncomfortable? What behaviors from others leave you feeling drained and disrespected? Identifying these triggers is the first step towards establishing clear boundaries. Once you've identified your boundaries, the next step is communicating them effectively. This can be challenging, especially if you're used to prioritizing others' needs over your own. But remember, setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's an act of self-care. Be assertive yet respectful when expressing your limits. Use I statements to assert your needs without placing blame. For example, I feel overwhelmed when I'm constantly interrupted during work meetings. I need uninterrupted time to focus. Now, maintaining boundaries can be just as challenging as setting them. It requires consistency and self-discipline, but if you're going to do this, you have to be prepared for pushback, especially from those accustomed to crossing your boundaries. Stay firm in your convictions and reinforce your boundaries with clear consequences. If they're violated, remember you teach others how to treat you by what you allow and what you don't. So what happens if you do the work, you set the boundaries, you communicate them, and your boundaries are still being violated? Well, for sure we know we can't live without boundaries. I think, firstly, you must have realistic expectations. Has that person ignored your boundaries even after you voiced them? That's an indication that your boundaries will not be met. If you're in a relationship, Dr. Ramani suggests stepping away and cutting your losses. She also says that if you're unable to step away from the relationship, instead you can stop sharing thoughts, feelings, and aspirations with that person, otherwise known as gray rocking. You can take a look down in the description of this video to get some more details on that. She stresses that setting a rigid boundary for the way you will interact with that person is essential. If you are an empathetic and deep connecting person like me, this will be very difficult. I don't really see the purpose of carrying on a relationship with someone that won't give me the respect I give them. You most likely will want to move on from that person, and it is your responsibility to determine which way you'd like to go. I believe there are no hard and fast rules for this. It's up to you to look at where you are in this journey. But I do believe you must have non-negotiable boundaries for yourself. It's our responsibility to adhere to them so we can protect ourselves and give ourselves the permission to walk away if necessary. Unfortunately, this is going to be messy if you are surrounded by people that don't really give a damn about your needs, thoughts, and feelings. It's going to be uncomfortable and it's going to feel lonely. You'll feel really conflicted. You'll wonder if the struggle is worth it. The only thing I can say is if you want better for yourself, you need to do the hard things. Nothing comes easy, especially if you are trying to craft a healthy life mentally, spiritually, and psychologically. Just as one last note, don't forget to respect others' boundaries as well. Just as you have the right to set limits, so do they. Practice empathy and understanding when someone communicates their boundaries to you. It's all about fostering healthy, reciprocal relationships built on mutual respect. In conclusion, setting boundaries for yourself is a crucial step toward living a more authentic, fulfilling life. Remember, it's not about building walls. It's about creating space for growth, respect, and self-love. That's all for today's episode. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, put a comment below, let me know what you thought about it. Until next time, take care and keep setting those boundaries. And remember to always be kind. I'll talk to you next time. Love you much. Ciao for now.